Okay, I don't know if Carmen was gonna make it. I know Blair and Catherine weren't able to make it. So I think we are ready to get started.
Okay. So who all do we have here?
So you have Kelly Burnett from Public Works.
John Eck, Public Works.
Rex Miller, Tree Board.
Haley Lagacy, Tree Board.
Brian Allen, Tree Board.
Jim Hossley, Public Works.
Greg Hamblett, Public Works.
Cora Vandervelden, Tree Board. Okay, has everybody had a chance to review the minutes for March 30th first?
And Meredith just arrived as well.
Oh, Meredith has got here, okay.
I'm here.
Okay, good.
I'd like to approve the minutes of March 31st, 2001.
Board Member Lagacy will second
motion.
that.
Who was that that seconded it?
Lagacy.
Okay. So I have a motion to approve and motion to second and second to approve the minutes for March 31st. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay, those are approved. Kelly, you can just send that to me and I'll sign them.
Perfect. And I don't believe we have any citizen input or public comment.
Okay.
Do we have the introduction of the new Operations Administrator?
Oh, sorry, I skipped that.
Yeah, so this is Jim speaking, and I want to introduce our new operations administrator. As you know, Randy Dixon has gone on to the private sector, and we will miss him. But we do have Greg Hamblett, who was promoted from within the city. And Greg, if you'd like to introduce yourself and kind of your background, just real brief.
Yeah, my name is Greg Hamblett. Been with the city for almost 4 years. Started my capacity here as engineering technician. Moved into the engineering services coordinator, and I've had an opportunity to work with a few of the board members on projects in the past. I look forward to working with the board on the trees and making the city keeping it as nice as it is now. So, and making improvements where necessary.
Welcome aboard, Greg.
Well, thank you.
Okay, Hall Street removal update.
So this is Jim. I can speak to that. It's been put on hold because the neighbors in the area were, quite a few folks came out against taking down the trees. We did have Patrick Meyer go take a look at the trees, and Patrick reported that the trees are healthy and growing, and there wasn't a danger of the trees falling or anything like that. Certainly there's a problem with the sidewalk, and cities just doesn't have the funds to replace the sidewalks at this time.
Okay.
And has somebody talked to Lori Lemire about that? I think those are the ones she complained about.
I don't know. I appreciate that question, so that's something we'll have to look into. So
She had the original complaint, and
she had to-
I looked at all those trees, and they're past, they're rotting.
Oh, okay.
They're not in good shape. They're birch, and birch is short-lived and high-rooted, which we're seeing in the sidewalk, but also in the crowns. Lots of rot up there.
Now, those trees have been around for, what, 60 years or more?
It's the same thing as the ones just just west of the fire station.
Fire station, yeah.
Yeah, the birch trees are, they're just past prime for them. They may not fall, but there's issues with those trees. In my background, I'm a forester, so I know something about trees.
And I'll just add that we did send letters to all those property owners, including Lori, when we had originally scheduled the takedown, and then also when we canceled it, letting them know that they would be remaining. So we have been in contact with her.
Good.
So is that an issue we're going to revisit again?
Yeah, I think the city council is going to have some discussion on, well, at least the role that the city plays outside the downtown areas with trees that are affecting sidewalks. So
Okay.
there's probably going to be a little further discussion on that.
We have a lot of them, and we're looking at another one in the notes today.
Okay. If that one's tabled until later, how about the 570 South Wall Street? Tree removal update.
Can you provide an update on that, John?
Do we have any paperwork on that? I don't recall which tree that was.
It was the one where there was one or two that were,
They were alders.
yeah,
They were alders, yep.
if you look up, I got it on the,
That's the kind of the right of way between the blocks.
Okay. I do not have any follow-through on that. I still need to contact an arborist or the tree service to have those trees removed. I haven't done that.
I think staff was gonna go out and determine whether or not they all needed to come down or just the two that were requested. Had that been,
I'll try to move that up on the schedule now.
So John, you'll look at those and see what we need to do.
John, back to you on this one.
Right.
So Coosac
Anybody?
Food Co-op.
Yeah, go ahead.
We had talked at the last meeting about allowing them to plant some trees in the mow strip in front of the store. As they called in locates, there's a natural gas line and a water main that run through that mow strip. So planting trees in the actual mow strip is not an option. Something that we came up with, I don't know if we've notified them or not, was allowing them to put some large planters in that they could plant. And if one of those utilities actually had to come in and do work, they could lift those planting pots and move them with a forklift or something like that, do their work and then restore the pots. So, but to actually plant trees in the mow strip is not going to work.
Yeah, so that must be for the whole block then, John?
Say that again?
Is that for the whole block that those lines run through there?
That is correct.
Okay. Anybody have any other comments about that?
Yeah, we'll just have to see, from a traffic safety standpoint, if planter boxes are advisable in that location or not.
Yeah, that would be my concern, is that, because if they go too high with the planter boxes, then you're going to be obstructing visual abilities from the street side. So, yeah,
Does anybody
we'll
have
work
a-
something out with them.
Does anybody have a locate on the depth of those, the gas line and the water main in that area?
The city
I think
doesn't.
there's a way around that. I am all for them putting trees in that area. I don't care if you have to dig down and you have to put them in a vault. They want trees there. It's a food store. There was trees across the street that were cut down that should not have been cut down, and that's just been left go. I would like to see them put their trees, they're asking for crabapple. For heaven's sakes, a crabapple is not deep rooted. Put it in a vault then, but let's find out a locate on how deep those pipes are. We have the same issue over at East Side, which was just ridiculous, because they're worried about they're worried about a Schedule 80 water main, and they're worried about tree roots. Even in 50 years, it's not gonna be a problem. So, anyway, I would like to table that one and find out the depth of those lines and find out what we could plant in there.
A crabapple
Okay.
is more of a bush than a tree, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, they're not deep rooted. They've got to be more than 2 foot, so, you know, maybe you vault them out at 2 foot and then go up 2 foot above ground. That would give it ample room, but, I just don't think that that's
I think-
good enough
I
reason.
think Rex, I think they're concerned about if they have problems, they've got to come and dig it up.
Well,
So the
then
vault
come-
would be more of an
Yeah.
issue, yeah.
Then come dig it up and it could be replaced, but I mean,
Yeah.
how often's that been dug up?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, look, the same issue would occur downtown in any of the areas where the trees are planted. If something came up and we had to dig out the, you know, the surrounding area around the trees, you know, and the line went under the area there that you're working on, the tree's gonna go anyway. So, you know, it's something that we just need to deal with.
I would be concerned if you're putting big trees in there, because big trees, roots will move stuff. And you wouldn't want them growing around water lines, whatever, but you're talking a crabapple.
Yeah.
It's more of a bush. It probably no bigger than 20 feet.
I would guess that.
Yeah.
You'd have to have at least a sight line of 5 foot, so people can see underneath it for
Yeah, I'm
traffic, but yeah.
They're not tall, they
Yeah.
don't grow tall, so they don't
No.
have a deep root structure.
A big crab apple might get almost a 15 foot, but that's
Yeah,
50 years old.
yeah.
So I'd like to see us pursue that, find out a locate, find out what the depth is.
Okay. So who's going to be responsible for doing that?
Well, the city would have to take that responsibility. I don't
Okay.
know, I think the water board, they probably would share their depth. I don't know if gas company shares their depth or not. What's
So-
been your experience?
John, you said it was gas and water. Was it electricity as well, or just gas and water?
There's gas and water both there.
Okay. Typically with the water board, we usually can get a depth. The gas, I'm unsure of, but I would imagine that they have their depth as well. I would imagine it was bored back in when it was installed, so we could probably ascertain that information. So I'll reach out to them by the end of today to see if I can't get those numbers to report back next time.
That would be great. Thank you. Okay, moving on. The 4th Street planting project against or budding Old City Hall. What's going on with that?
So this is Kelly. I have an update since Randy's absence. After our last meeting, we reached out to them, and it sounds like there was some confusion on about exactly what they wanted. So Randy had advised them that he would come back to the tree board and find out what low-lying bushes the board would approve in that area, and they have volunteered, of course, to pay for the bushes that they want to put there.
Is this the old city hall?
Yes.
Okay.
The 4th Street project where we were originally going to put in the trees. So now they just want direction on what bushes the city would allow, or the tree board will allow.
So is there tree wells in there, John?
There are tree wells in there.
Okay.
So Rex, can you give us some ideas?
Well, Cora, my idea would be, we have a street tree plan for 4th Street. I would like to see us follow through with it. There's no reason why we shouldn't put Armstrong maples in there like we did the rest of the city. If you have a plan, you need to follow through with it. If we start kind of bowing down to everybody's wishes, we're going to have a hodgepodge like years ago we started down there at the Blue Heron Bistro.
Yep, I agree.
And that's been a problem ever since. We need to hold our ground on this. They talked about a canopy. Well, canopies can be built around these things. There's no reason why an Armstrong couldn't go in there. And also, if it limbs up, then you have sight line underneath that. What you really need there is a trunk that you see past, not a bush that's gonna affect the sidewalk and have to be continually trimmed. It's at least that's my opinion. I want to see the plan followed for 4th Street.
I also, this is Board Member Legacy, I also have questions about the necessity to go with a shrub as opposed to the tree. Thinking about where the wells are placed on the sidewalk, and they've proposed that they're going to be using this space for outside seating. I don't think that their seating is going to extend to the far end of the sidewalk because that would impede traffic flow on the sidewalk, which isn't really something that is appropriate for the business to do, is to close the public sidewalk for their seating. So I also would be in favor of, what Rex said, continuing with the original plan to put in the trees, barring any other clarification or further information from the business owner who's requested this.
Rex, what's planted across the street from there, over by City Subs?
Everything on 4th Street is Armstrong maples.
So then I would think that we should continue the maples. I'm in agreement. I don't think the shrubs in that area would be appropriate. First of all, it's going to impact traffic a lot, foot traffic especially, a lot more than if a tree trunk is in there. And it's going to, the shrubs would require a whole lot more pruning and whatever to keep them within a normal range to keep from impeding the sidewalk area. So I guess this is something that we're going to have to vote on. So anybody else have input?
So Kelly, this is Jim. If there's any clarification whatsoever, what was the rationale for them wanting to put the bushes versus trees? Because
They were gonna do, like Kayla had mentioned, the outdoor dining and then the canopy, and their thought was the trees would interfere with that.
With the canopy or the outdoor seating or both?
I think both. I think.
Okay, well,
That's what I understood it to be. This is Cora, that they were wanting us to change it because they didn't feel that the canopy or the awning that they were going to use was going to be appropriate with the trees in there. So they wanted to go with something that was lower growing. But I agree. I agree with Rex. I don't think we need to disrupt the scheme of things down there. What are we talking? 2 trees?
I think, are there 2 wells there?
That would make sense, given the number of feet. I think we're allowed 35 feet between trees, so.
Cora, I'd like to make a motion that we maintain the street tree planting, and we are allowed to put Armstrong maples in those 2 wells.
Okay, I have a motion to keep the current treescape with the Armstrong maples. They're on 4th Street. Anybody else have a second on that?
This is Board Member Legacy, and I will second that.
Okay, I have a motion made and seconded to keep the Armstrong maples in the tree area there by 4th Street, abutting Old City Hall. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? Okay, motion carries. Kelly, can you make sure that you get the letter done to the property owners?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, we're out on Newmark now. What's going on out there?
Some history on that. This issue's been before the tree board before. We planted trees out on Newmark some time ago when we redid that corridor out there. Really not thinking ahead, and we planted tall growing trees under utility lines that are actually quite low out in that area. We've had to remove quite a few of those trees, specifically between Cammon and Ocean Boulevard. We're looking for something to put back in there that won't interfere with those utility lines, but will still give us some kind of a tie-in to make that corridor look a little bit nicer.
Those are the ones, aren't they, John, that got butchered so badly and then we ended up taking them out?
Most of the trees have been taken out that were interfering with utility lines, yes.
What's the height of the utility lines?
I haven't measured, I'm gonna guess probably someplace between 17 and 20 feet. They're not real tall.
What are the utility lines? Is there electric in it? Is electric
Most of the ones in question are communication.
communication?
Yeah, I think they're phone and cable lines and such.
Rex, do you know of something that fits that?
Well, you know, in other places where we've had that problem, we've just used the Norway maples. They top out at about 22 foot. The platanoides is it's a little better in the wind. It's just a good all-around maple, and especially if you kind of roll the top out of them the first time when they're planted, then they stay fairly low. Some really good examples, well, good example and bad examples, very old Emerald Queens are over here at the library, and they've never got, I mean, that was 1970, and they've never got huge. It's true, they're more than 17 feet, but that was 1970. They could be easily held, to 17 to 20 foot. And that would kind of tie in with what happens across the street, maple to maple. That'd be my thought.
John, do we need something that doesn't touch the lines, or is it okay to go with something that's going to be in them slightly?
I think so long as we can make them work, we need to maintain, the wells are close to the street, and the traffic runs right next to the curb line, so whatever we have is gonna be limited in what we can do for diameter as well, so. It's just, like I said, this group has talked about this before, we've never come up with a solution because there are several variables involved in it, so. We've talked about putting more of a shrub-like thing in there. We actually think we've got one or two shrubs down around the storage units that now grow out into the street. There are maintenance issues we talked about before, so.
Yeah.
I don't know that there's an easy answer for it.
Well, the shrubs down around the maintenance thing were done because of the crosswalk. Because you couldn't
Right,
see the
yeah.
lights. And I don't have an answer for that. If you put in a tree and it blocks the crosswalk, people can't see.
Well, keep in mind too that the city ordinance says that we won't plant within 30 feet of a corner, so there's going to be some tree wells that are gonna, we did take out, for instance, down there at Cammon, we're gonna fill those wells because they never should have had trees in the first
Yeah,
place.
okay.
So are we good in telling the city then that they can plant the Norway maples in that area?
I think that's a question for the board. My goal is.
That's what I'm asking. I'm asking the board. I need some input here from somebody.
This is Haley. Yes, that sounds like a good plan. And I'm looking around Cora and I'm seeing head nods. So.
Okay, I can't see them, so.
I think that's a Rex answer for me.
Okay.
Okay, so we will somebody can put a motion forward, please, and a second, and we'll go ahead and go forward.
This is for Member Legacy. I will move that the board directs staff to move forward with the recommendation from Board Member Miller regarding the maples on Newmark.
Okay, can I have you revise that and tell us what kind of maples, please?
They are regarding the Norway maples for Newmark Street.
Okay, that's good. Can I have a second, please?
This is Board Member Brian Allen. I second the motion to use Norway maples along Newmark Street.
Okay, we have a motion to allow the city to plant Norway maples in that section on Newmark that we've had discussions previously on. We have a motion made and it's been seconded. All those in favor?
Hi.
Anybody opposed? Okay, city, you can plant.
Thank you.
So the next item on the agenda is the tree removal request for 620 Commercial. Owner stating that it's causing some issues with sewer lateral, also that it's gotten into the building, into the utility lines. These trees last year we went through and did some serious trimming on those. We had Patrick Meyer work on them and trim back off the building, trim out of the utility lines. But they're still pushing to have these trees removed. One way or another, they are going to be removed as we do sidewalk projects, but I can't predict when that's going to happen. But in the meantime, we've taken steps to try to control these trees, and the building owner is still stating that they're having some problems with them.
Didn't we visit this once before when Dr. Brown was in that building?
We've done work when Dr. Brown was in there. We've done work, like I say, just last fall, we went in and did some real heavy pruning on those trees that I'm sure the pictures show where we've taken out some major branches on those trees that were hanging over the building and into the utility lines. Utility lines are still there, but we've been able to minimize the interference.
The major problem with this tree that I know of is below ground, if they're talking roto-rooter.
Yeah.
And you're not going to cure that with anything you do above ground. The only
No.
thing you can do is kill the tree to minimize future damage. And I can tell you that there's a tree across the street that they did that to, and it's sprouting and growing again. So it's a challenge to deal with these. It'll keep sprouting and growing if you don't do something with them. But this, I did this survey, last year, you know, 18 months ago, whenever it was. There's several trees in that area along that corridor that are the same. They are way past a street tree. They're way past a street tree in height in the lines. And then, as you can see, they're moving curb, they're moving sidewalk. We have 20 or 30 trees around town that are similar. The whole block, what is that, Curtis, is like that?
Yes,
And these
yes, like that.
around the, that corridor, around City Hall and over to the Dairy Queen area, and then there's some of the downtown trees, the oak trees. And when you've got a 24-inch well and you've got a 22-inch tree and a 24-inch well, you've got a problem. And there's nothing you can do besides remove the tree and start over, which is expensive. And I think that part of the solution is to deal with it before they get to be 24 inches in a 24-inch hole. And but that's money but it's decisions that should be made at one time. Where's your maximum tree size in one of our 24-inch holes in a downtown block? Because you're constricted by concrete all the way around it.
Well, these are 50-year-old trees,
Yep,
planted in
Yep.
the 70s.
yep. And my opinion is you should be looking at removal when they're close to 20 inches. You should be looking at a maintenance. instead of a complete rebuild.
Well, and also I think the species or the type of tree, I mean, these were sunset maples, that's the fastest growing red maple there is.
Yep.
And they just took off. I
Which
mean,
is-
they wanted trees in a hurry, and they got them, but now we're kind of paying for that. But even at that, 50 years is a long time for a tree. And too long for those.
So that's the problem, incorrect species and it's past maturity for a street tree. And
So, go ahead,
And
Meredith.
I think that we need to deal with the issue because it's not gonna go away. What's one of those things grow a year? Maybe it's a half an inch, so, or maybe a quarter of an inch, but if you see growth above, you're seeing growth on the roots, and so the roots will continue to grow down there and continue to affect the below-ground issues, the water and sewer, et cetera. There's one right beside, what's his name, the accountant down here, that they've taken out, and it was pushing sidewalk with a water meter right beside the tree. Those things you are certain to cause issues. This one's causing a sewer issue. That one may have or would have caused a water issue.
John, you said that these trees and this particular type of problem might eventually be addressed as part of the sidewalks project. And Jim, you mentioned that the city council will be having discussions about trees and sidewalks outside of the downtown corridor. Can you remind us or give us some information about what the council has said or direction they've given to staff regarding trees that are in the downtown area, and using this as an example?
Yeah, so there's really no recent direction from the council on what we do in the downtown area. I think since I've been here, it's been the way we've operated is that if it's a city tree, street tree, then we assist the owner by taking out the tree and replacing the sidewalk. Now, the dollars are the challenge.
Yes.
So, do we have any idea, John, when this area might be set to have that work done?
We don't. I'm in the process of doing a sidewalk assessment for downtown right now, and then part of that assessment is rating importance. There are some sidewalks that are in worse shape than others. That's going to be a conversation that Jim, Greg, and I will be having here in the next few weeks, and ultimately, I think council will have to decide priorities on those.
Yeah, just to give you some idea.
So,
I'm sorry.
what do we want to tell the property owner at this point in time?
Well,
I'm
this
sorry.
is Haley again. I think it would be important that we handle these consistently, since we anticipate that there will be many more instances like this one as we move forward. So in my mind, the two options would be to request that staff move forward with assisting the property owner with removal, repair these, and address them one at a time as they come up. Or as the alternative would be that we would table this and ask for staff direction or a schedule for when the sidewalks would be addressed and take it from that angle. I don't know that I don't lean towards either really, but I do think that it would be important, or it might be valuable for us as a group to handle these consistently.
Yes, you need direction on how, a policy to follow. And so, one thing we can do in the interim is, if they're having problems with their sewer lateral, and it's because of a city street tree, that maybe we can pay for Roto-Rooter or some equivalent to at least get rid of the roots in the short term on their lateral, or in their lateral.
My opinion for the tree is to remove it. I mean, at least cut it, kill it, so it doesn't continue to cause problems to their sewer line, because it will. If you leave it there, it'll continue to, whatever it's doing to the sewer line, if it's roots growing into the sewer line or whether it's crushing the sewer line, it'll continue to do that. And then as far as sidewalk repair, I'd say that would be a down the road as funding goes, but I know it's not cheap to take a tree down too. But I think in the interest of maintaining good rapport with the landowner, I think that would be the thing to do.
That way we limit the city's liability to the property owner in the event that it did crush the sewer line, or the water line, either one of them. At least if the tree is gone, it's not going to continue to get worse at this point anyway.
As long as the tree's not growing, it wouldn't get worse. And
Okay,
that's
so
not
I need
saying
somebody
that
to make a motion here.
I'll make a motion that the city removes the tree, as in cutting.
Okay. Anybody want to second that?
I'll second that.
Okay, thank you, Rex. Okay, we have a motion made and seconded to remove the tree that's causing this sewer issue at 620 Commercial. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay, motion carries. We probably will have to send a letter to the property owner, letting them know what we're going to be doing. And if, John, you guys can come up with a timeline so we can let them know what is going to happen and approximate time so they don't continue to bombard us with requests.
Okay.
Okay, anybody with any closing comments?
Board member Brian Allen has one closing comment. So
Okay, go ahead.
we were kind of talking earlier about maybe the city departments not really knowing or understanding our city planting plan for the trees. I think it would be beneficial if we distributed our planting plan among the city departments. So during design or planning, we could kind of talk about what trees are going to be put where, and people won't be caught off guard by that, or we could better communicate with homeowners or property owners. That's it.
Okay, I don't have a problem in us doing that.
I had a question about the GIS map.
Go ahead, Meredith.
Is that going to be updated? I mean, we've done a lot of work on 4th Street, a lot of trees coming out, some trees going in, and, I did a lot of work to get that to where it is. I'm just wondering if the city is going, GIS guy or whoever is going to do any updates to that to make the changes.
Yes, I just found out about your GIS map that you put together, so as long as we have it in our GIS as an overlay, that's something we can do.
There's a lot of trees on there that are not there anymore.
Yeah. Okay.
The last time I looked, I'm not sure if it's been updated.
Yeah, this is Greg Hamlet, staff. Who provides the tree inventory? Is that done by the tree board? I don't know the process, so that's what
I did it.
Okay, so you do it?
I did it.
So in maintaining it moving forward, how is that going to happen?
We haven't talked about that.
Okay. So you said there was a lot of trees that are on it that are no longer there.
There's been a lot of removals with the 4th Street project,
Uh-huh.
and, all the stuff with that 300 block or whatever it is, there's a lot of them were taken out. And ones down towards the Wells Fargo, changes down there. I didn't, and then all the stuff around the old post office, there's a lot of changes there.
Okay.
So there's probably 30 trees that have changed one way or another.
Okay. Yeah, I was just curious if the inventory before the GIS was managed, as new trees are planted or trees are taken out, do we who make those changes? So,
Yeah, we can make the changes.
Well, no.
We just need to, as staff, we don't, right now, as staff, we're not up to snuff on the species that replaced those that were removed.
Yeah, if,
So we would look to you at least initially for that.
yeah, if they can, yeah, it's just a question of whether they're gonna be deleted and we can add new ones, or,
We can make that happen.
yeah. I
That will
talked to
be,
your
that will be,
GIS.
that will be good for going forward as to what our tree plans are for in those areas that we've had the changes happen.
Yeah, you can see what's going on if you've got the map and
Sure.
it's
Yeah.
interactive.
yeah. Yeah, I was just curious, so I appreciate that, thank you.
Yep, there's,
Well, just so you know, Greg, Randy had come to us and asked us if we were willing to do the tree inventory to get the thing off the ground so that at least we could have an idea of what our inventory was. And Meredith volunteered to go do that, and he did it. We really appreciate him doing it. So now we've got to just get the updates done.
Yeah, no, that's totally awesome, and having that information obviously helps as we're moving forward. So I appreciate that. I was just wondering if, when we do have those omissions, the trees being removed or trees being added, how's that information being conveyed? And if it's an education by the tree board to staff to be able to identify that's that kind of tree, we can make those updates, or we can get them on
well,
when
they
we do
can,
our assessments and whatnot.
the point can be added and it's an unknown point. And it's just whether, what the process is, whether you want us to do that or whether, that would be a project. And we can do the species. I do species, height, diameter, sidewalk condition, crown height, crown heights. There's 6 or 8 pieces of information that's collected on each tree.
Yeah, well, we appreciate that, your expertise, so if you're willing to do it, we will gladly accept the data. I can have Micah, our GIS, fella, take care of, update the overlay.
Yeah, very nice, thank you.
Anybody else with comments? I guess if nobody else has any comments, I guess we can go ahead and adjourn for today. When is our next meeting, Kelly, scheduled for?
I would have to go back and take a look. I don't have that in front of me. I apologize.
That's okay.
I know we weren't able to keep our 4th Thursday because of scheduling issues in chambers. And typically we end up canceling our November, December meetings, so my initial feeling is January.
Okay. Okay, well, if anything comes up in the meantime, you can always get a hold of us.
Well, this is Jim, and I just want to say, on behalf of the city, we really appreciate your work and your willingness to volunteer and give of your time and expertise to help us out. So thank you very much.
You're welcome.
You're welcome. It's a pleasure to be able to do that. So how is everybody else handling COVID? Are we good?
Great.
I think we're all good.
Okay, that's what we like to hear. So if you need anything, make sure you let me know.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Cora.
Cora.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Yeah.
knock them down because